Hi there, summoners! GuardianE here with another live reaction and first impression video for Fire Emblem Heroes. And to hear that, hear those wedding bells off in the distance. Yes, tonight we are getting the reveal of the next set of brides and grooms that are going to drop into the game in just a couple of days, the next Special Heroes banner. And we've got the silhouettes pulled up here, and it's beginning to look a lot like Alchrist. Yeah, on the left-hand side there, that silhouette definitely looks like Alchrist. And on the right side, I think one of the most common guesses is Embla, and that would be, it seems to be right on the money. It matches the silhouette, so it definitely makes sense. I do wonder if we're going to be getting more engaged characters, and if we are, would they end up putting Diamant in there? Or if we end up getting a lovely bride, I could see them going with Gold Mary. I think that would be my guess. We've gotten a version of Hortensia and Rosado in the game at this point, after all. So that's going to be my guess, but we've got the trailer pulled up here. Let's go ahead and watch it together for the first time together and react to all of the character reveals, and then, of course, take a closer look at the art and the skills to see if ultimately this is a banner that I think is worth pulling on. So, let's get started. Alright, and away we go. Let's see the forest from the trees here. Bouquets in hand. Special heroes to battle. First up on deck. Closed off bride. Closed off indeed. Gatekeeping bride Embla. So she's going to be a flying beast. Okay. Alright.
You dare command me.
Attacking into leaf. Very appropriate. Closing florets, Dragon Fang, attack speed wild, Beast Assault 4, absolute closure for the C-slot skills. That's going to be her own uniqueness there. Transforms in any circumstances, blocks foe's protection, speeds up, blocks foe's protection. I'm curious about that one. I wonder if that has to do specifically with the revive mechanic, or just like damage reduction in general, but I feel like if it was damage reduction, they would say as much. Oh, Mighty Bride.
Beautiful.
So it's Lapis, though I don't think that still rules out Gold Mary. So she's gonna be, was that an infantry sword unit? Wildflower Edge. Oh, Flared Sparrow. Okay, Flow Guard 4, Panic Smoke 4. Inflicts penalties and panic on foes. Grants extra action to allies. Really? Okay, so she does refresh allies, which is something that's not unprecedented from a non-dancer, but definitely on the rare side all the same. Alright. Okay, we have Alchrist making an appearance here, so if that's not a tease of another unit in this trailer, then I don't know what is. Stoic Bride.
I look forward to celebrating victory in battle with you.
Beautiful.
My wedding day.
So, Infantry Dragon Nell. So she's going to be the 4-star special unit. Dragon Bloom Plus. That's interesting. Inflict special cooldown count +1 before foe attacks. Reduces damage from first. Yeah, so that is something that they've been attributing to dragons. Oh, cool sprite. I like it, I like it. So I didn't see, I don't know if that's going to be part of her skill set or the actual weapon, but we'll take a closer look. Pillars of Peace.
Such a beautiful gown.
Wow.
Thank you.
Okay, Sharena and Veronica. I was not expecting that. I don't know what I was expecting, but not that. United Bouquet, no quarter. Okay, they come with no quarter, which is arguably the best melee special in the game. Potent 4 as well, and Forever Yours. So that is definitely a stacked skill set. 4 spaces, takes up 3 actions per turn. Oh god, that sounds awful to deal with. Okay, well, there's the no quarter. Again, that sustain, that damage reduction nullification, and then, okay. Oh, interesting. So that's how the refresh is gonna work. A lot of refreshes going on, huh? Are open. Okay. Well, I know Veronica fans are going to be happy. And Sharena fans as well, of course. Duo skill. I like how they've kind of wrapped up all of the entire demonstration in this one engagement, or this one map. So they'll refresh themselves too, which is dangerous. Brides to be, paralogue story. Alright, so I was wrong. I was very wrong. Alchrist is there, though. Alchrist is there in the back. I saw him. So we are going to be getting a groom Alchrist. And a lot of brides on the banner. No grooms on the banner, though, this time. And, of course, the Fey Pass with the Spark available. So starting, of course, on the 20th of May, and going for an entire month, Nell is going to be the 4-star focus unit on the banner. She is going to be on green. And we've got even color distribution across, with blue having the actual duo. Also, pretty even movement type distribution as well. No armored units, but otherwise we got 2 infantry, a flyer, and cavalry units. So, you know, whatever strikes your fancy, for the most part, unless you're an armor lover, a dirty armor lover, then you'll probably find what you're looking for here, at least in some shape or form, so that's nice. Although Alchrist might be armored, I don't know, I couldn't see what movement type he had. So yeah, like I said, not the characters that I had pegged, Embla and Alchrist notwithstanding. The others are, kind of a surprise, although we did get plenty of Engage representation, and then it was a blend of Engage and Heroes, which, again, makes a lot of sense traditionally for this type of banner. It's nice to see Sharena get some love. Sharena has been kind of a long-lost child of the original trio, so it's nice to see her getting another alt here. And Veronica, again, pretty big fan favorite, and so I think probably... was certainly on deck for another alt, and I think some people were asking for a bride version as well. All right, so let's take a closer look at the characters and their kits. Out of the gate, I wouldn't say that I'm like super excited. I like the characters. I like the selection is nice, but I'm also not like fawning over the characters either. So I think this is one that I probably could skip. So here is Embla. She is the flyer, flying colorless beast unit. And I do like the design of the dress a lot. It has the gothic overtones, which I think you would expect from Embla. Sort of the cryptic, almost monotone, the black and the white with the burgundy spread throughout too. Looks really nice with the flare, kind of the blood red elements to it. And then in the bouquet, she has an actual like burning eye embedded in there, which is a nice touch. I don't know if it's just me, but the vibe that I'm getting from her expression is definitely one of like disillusionment or disenchantment. Like it feels like she really doesn't care. Like it looks like she really doesn't want to be here, which is very on brand for Embla, I think, in this outfit. But it does look quite nice, and you have the little roses and the blood red at the ends of the hemline too, so it comes together cleanly. So once again, Embla is going to be a flying colorless unit, closing florets, 14 might, enables Kanto remainder +1, and also a killer slaying effect baked in. So at the start of the turn, if she has at least 25% HP, grants the following effect to unit and target allies. If support partner is on player team, targets any support partner within 2 spaces, otherwise targets ally with the highest speed within 2 spaces of unit. That's interesting. So it's, even if there's not a support, right, then she has an out for the skill the skill effect to still happen. If special cooldown count is at its maximum value, grants special cooldown count -2. If special cooldown count is at its max value -1, grant special cooldown count -1. Okay, so what that effectively means is that both she and the target ally, if they have a 2 cooldown special, it is going to be insta-charged at the beginning of the turn. She's going to get 2 charges, irrespective of whether or not it's at 2 cooldown or 1 cooldown. At start of combat, if unit has at least 25% HP, grants bonus to all stats during combat equal to the number of foes within 3 rows or 3 columns centered on unit times 3 + 5, max 14. Okay, deals damage equal to 20% of unit speed, excluding AoE specials, and reduces damage by 20% of unit speed. Okay, so making both of those things rely on her speed allows her to min-max quite nicely. So both defensively and in order to do that much more damage, the speed stat is where it's at. At start of turn, if unit is adjacent to only beast or dragon allies, she'll transform, of course. If unit transforms, grants +2 to attack, and unit can move 1 extra space that turn only. And presumably, as part of her kit, I think probably in her B slot or C slot, she's going to be able to transform irrespective of the condition. So she's basically always going to have that attack +2 and that extra movement tile as well. Yeah, so that's real good. That's really good. The Kanto remainder +1 obviously synergizes very well with the extra movement tile that she gets. The killer slaying effect is going to work very well in tandem, of course, with the charge that she gets at the beginning of the turn too. Not only that, she provides that to an ally, so she has valuable utility in a team setting as well. And then a whole number of stat boosts centered around or based around the number of foes that she has within the columns, like 3 by 3, right? It's a huge part of the map. So the more foes there are around, she gets up to 14 to all of her stats in combat boosts. The 20% damage reduction and the 20% additional damage as well, based off of her speed, is quite nice. Alright, so then you got the Dragon Fang for the special, interestingly enough. Got attack speed wild for the A slot. Number of adjacent allies other than beast or dragon allies is less than or equal to 1. Or if unit is transformed, grants attack speed +7 to unit during combat, grants special cooldown charge +1 to unit per attack during combat, and restores 7 HP to unit after combat as well. Beast Assault 4 for the B slot removes the condition to transform, right. So we saw this coming a mile away. Inflicts speed defense -4 on foe and reduces the percentage of foes non-special reduced damage by X% skills by 50%. So she's got damage reduction piercing or damage reduction by 50% in here as part of, as well as an in-combat debuff to speed and defense, which is going to be quite nice to help her double. Also going to help her deal more damage just in general. And then, of course, again, she's going to be able to transform irrespective of who's around her. Absolute Closure for the C slot. At start of turn, inflicts undefended and feud on foes within 3 columns or 3 rows centered on unit through their next actions. At start of turn, if any foe is within 3 columns or 3 rows centered on unit, grants dodge to unit and neutralizes any penalty, excluding penalties inflicted at the start of the turn. Okay, so that's interesting. So really a lot of what she has is centered around this whole 3 columns and 3 rows, which again is a huge part of the map. That's actually like a huge segment of the map. So if allies are around her, around that area, then they get dodge, they get a penalty, they get a elimination of their penalties, which is awesome. And then any foes in that range will get inflicted against them undefended and feud. And then if unit transforms, grant +4 to all stats, neutralizes effects that guarantee foes follow-up attacks and effects that prevent units follow-up attacks during combat. So that obviously works beautifully with Beast Assault 4. It's also going to work beautifully with her weapon too, and even work beautifully with attack speed wild. So there's a lot of cohesion here, I think, with the kit as a whole. And it's going to let her basically go in and do a lot of damage, get some damage reduction. I do think that the way that this is built out right now, she's going to go in, do a ton of damage, have her special mostly pre-charged, be able to double with impunity, have some built-in damage reduction too, tons of stat boosts, tons of debuffs on the enemy, as well as provide support to her allies all at the same time. I guess her one weakness, if you can really call it that, is that she doesn't have a ton of damage reduction built in, like we've seen with so many units in the past like half year or so. She has 20% of her speed, which is still going to be sizable, it's going to be decent, it's still going to be appreciated when she's doubling and has to sustain a hit, but depending on what special you go with her, she's going to be able to proc the special immediately anyway, and your opponent may not survive to be able to retaliate to begin with. So yeah, really strong unit. I like what they've done with her. I think she's powerful. I don't think she's incredibly overwhelming, but she's gonna be dangerous. I mean, that's for sure. She's definitely gonna be dangerous. And I like the support elements that they added in addition to her own power level. That makes her just overall more useful in a battlefield. So I like that element to it. Alright, so next up we've got Lapis as a Blushing Bride. She is going to be she's Cavalry. I forgot that she's Cavalry. Okay, Cavalry, sword unit, and then she is in a pretty traditional wedding dress, I have to say. She looks feminine, and she looks delicate. Definitely a nice change of pace from her typical armor. It's a nice look for her, and I think she wears it really well. Certainly a pretty dress, a fitting look for her. I'm sure it's going to have a lot of very endearing lines as well associated with the theming. So she is going to have Wildflower Edge. It's going to be a 16 might sword. Enables Kanto remainder +1, killer slaying effect as well. Where have we seen that before? If unit has entered combat during the current turn, allies within 5 spaces of unit can move to a space within 2 spaces of unit. That's interesting. Okay. So it's banking on the refresh mechanic, right? If unit initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, grants +5 to all stats, grants bonus to unit stats equal to 15% of unit speed at the start of combat as well, deals damage equal to 20% of unit speed, excluding AoE specials, reduces damage from foes' first attack by X% during combat. If it is unit's first combat initiated by unit or first combat initiated by foe that turn, X is 80, otherwise X is 40. First attack normally means only the first strike. For effects that grant unit attacks twice, it means the first and second strikes. If unit initiates combat, deals 10 damage to target and foes within 2 spaces of target after combat, and inflicts share spoils on target through its next action. The share spoils debuff is inflicts -5 to all stats on unit during combat, and reduces damage by X% effects from unit's non-special skills. Wow, neutralizes them. Really? So it actually is damage reduction nullification, not just damage reduction piercing. If foe initiates combat, and if unit is defeated in combat, grants another action to that foe after combat. Wait, what? If foe initiates combat and unit is defeated, so if Lapis is defeated in combat, grants another action to the foe? So I guess this is like a lore thing. It's not, I mean, it's strictly a... Wait, this effect has priority over other similar effects, including time is light. In such cases, similar effects are treated as having not triggered. I don't know if we've seen such a blatant negative in unless I'm misreading it, which is totally possible. That could be the case. Escutcheon for the special, Flared Sparrow for the A slot. That's quite nice. Going to be boosting her attack and speed, and then of course also giving the Divine Vein Flame, and then Flow Guard 4 for the B slot. So if unit initiates combat, inflicts speed defense -4 on foe. Neutralizes effects that guarantee foes follow-up attacks and effects that prevent units follow-up attacks, and inflicts special cooldown charge -1 on foe per attack during combat. And also, if foe's attack can trigger foe's special, inflicts special cooldown count +1 on foe before foe's first attack during combat. So baking that into a B-slot skill is quite good. That's actually quite strong. So it's actually going to be a special reverse effect. And I don't know if we've had that on an inheritable skill before. I can't remember. We may have. I mean, we've seen it most commonly built into like weapons and a lot of dragon weapons at that, or dragon skills. It's a very powerful effect, and one that does make sense to have on the evolution of the guard skill tree. But not only does it have a guard effect, which is effectively, neutralizing the enemy's ability to gain charge, it also does the special reverse. That's very good at neutralizing the enemy's ability to gain special charge and proc their special. That's quite nice. In addition to the whole actual in-combat debuff to speed and defense, and the neutralization of the follow-up effect, this is actually a really darn good skill. That's a really good skill. I wonder what limitations there are to the Guard 4 skill. I don't think up to this point the Guard tree has had any limitations. I think everybody can inherit Guard, if I'm not mistaken. So I do wonder if everybody can inherit this, because I kind of got my eye on it. It's actually quite nice. Now, granted, most of the juicy effects on this one only happen on player phase, so you're not getting all of the effects on enemy phase. In fact, I think you're only getting the special reverse on enemy phase, if I'm reading this right. The rest of it, you have to rely on you being player phasing to get those effects, but they are damn good effects at that. And then Panic Smoke for the C slot. So a lot of her value. First of all, she's got an amazing kit, at least from an inheritance perspective. I think Lapis has a lot going for her. I think that Flow Guard 4 is amazing. Flared Sparrow is obviously very, very good to have too. Wildflower Edge is kind of nutso in like all of the different effects that it has built in. A lot of things scaling off of speed, just like Embla, but at the same time, there's also some like fixed damage reduction based around the number of times that she's acted and things like that. And then the Share Spoils is a really, really strong effect. I mean, that damage reduction nullification is no joke, including the debuff as well. Now, rereading the whole entered combat thing, now that I'm looking at it again, it doesn't rely on a refresh like I originally thought. It's just that after she's acted, like after she's already had combat, she acts as a beacon, right, for units to kind of teleport to or warp to. So that is unusual. Still, it's still pretty darn unique, I would say. It's almost like a Pathfinder effect. Not exactly, but like it's one of those things where the character is acting as a pass-through after they've kind of moved. And so it's sort of in that vein at least. So it's unique. It's interesting. I actually like the kit because it's got a lot of things. Not only is it just loaded with different really powerful effects, but it's also got like a lot of uniqueness to it, which I certainly really appreciate. And yeah, she's got an absolute ton of premium skill fodder going forward too at that. All right, and here is Nell. She is going to be a green dragon infantry unit. Once again, she is going to be the 4-star focus unit on the banner, so she is going to be easier to get merges of. And I like the look. It's nice and colorful. It's got clean line work as well. The design is quite nice. It's got that pure snowy white with the teal color. It's very fetching. And then the bouquet itself is at red, white, and blue arrangement too, with the dragon stone just kind of lodged right in the middle there. With a thorny crown around it. I like the asymmetrical bustier. It's got kind of like a star effect on one of the cups. It's pretty nice. And then ribbons flowing down her shoulders, and the otherwise shoulderless design is quite beautiful. Floral arrangement with the veil looks great. It's just a beautiful, full-figured bride. Alright, so Dragon Bloom Plus. This is going to be an inheritable dragon weapon. 14 might. If unit initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, grants +4 to all stats to unit, and deals damage equal to 15% of unit speed, and reduces damage from foes' first attack by X% during combat. If it is unit's first combat initiated by unit or first combat initiated by foe that turn, X is 80, otherwise X is 40. First attack normally means first strike. For effects that grant unit attacks twice, it means the first and second strikes. And then it also has adaptive damage as well. So that's actually pretty good as far as inheritable dragon stones go. I would say that the stat boost as well as the scaling fixed damage off of speed, and then of course the damage reduction built in as well. It's quite nice, but again it runs into that same issue where inheritable weapons at this point have kind of been outclassed by arcane weapons. So it's kind of like a tough act to follow in a lot of ways, but there definitely could be uses for this Dragon Bloom Plus, I feel. Reciprocal aid, attack speed, scowl 3. If unit initiates combat or foe's HP is greater than or equal to 75% at the start of combat, grants +6 to attack and speed to unit during combat, and also if foe's attack can trigger foe's special, and unit's res is greater than or equal to foe's res +9 during combat, inflict special cooldown count +1 on foe before first attack. So, okay, so I forgot that attack speed Scowl 3 has the special rewind built into it. For some reason, I knew that like a lot of dragons had it. I couldn't remember that that was the specific skill. So she does have an inheritable skill with that. It's just not built into the weapon. And then Counter Roar 3 reduces damage from foe's first attack during combat by 30%, and unit's next attack deals damage equal to 30% of foe's attack damage prior to reductions. Does not stack, resets at end of combat. Okay, for the B slot there as well. So she's got some nice stepping stone skills and some decent skills, I think, inheritance for dragons in general. The weapon's not bad either. I think it could definitely get some use, especially even as an interim weapon before getting the arcane weapon that would fit well. But all the same, I do think that it's going to be the lackluster kit of the batch, of course, just being... it's going to be the most lackluster kit of the batch, naturally being the 4-star focus unit, right? But that being said, I think there's some nice offerings here still, especially for dragon enthusiasts in particular. And then for the duo, we have Sharena and Veronica, a cavalry lance unit. I do like the pairing, actually. I think it's quite nice, especially with the exchange that they've had, not only recently, but at the end of some of the recent books where they've kind of bolstered and really reestablished the connection between the two. And I think also, like, the further linkage between Asker and Embla in general. So I think it works really well. Again, I like the pairing. I like the soft pastel color approach to the dresses. The poofy sleeves, too. Feels like they have some Asker elements to them, in addition to, like, the golden stripe design running down the sleeves. It's really nice. I like Veronica's gentle expression, and I like Sharena's big, open smile. That's, like, her thing, is to just be very welcoming and open and full of optimism, and I think that comes through cleanly here, so it's really great representation. If there's one thing that I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of, is a little bit more Embla influence, I think, in Veronica's dress, just because they are wearing very similar dresses. I mean, they're not exactly the same, but even some of the unique elements of Veronica's dress feel a little bit more Asker-inspired, so I feel like if they had some more Embla elements, like, they wouldn't have to go, like, completely dark with it, but I do think that maybe they could have created a little bit of different contrast between the unit too. But I think they work well together. They look nice. They look cute. It's definitely some cute art. So United Bouquet is going to be their unique lance. 16 might, killer slaying effect. At start of turn, if unit's HP is at least 25%, grants attack speed +6 to unit for 1 turn, and unit can move 1 extra space. That turn only, does not stack. At start of combat, if unit's HP is greater than or equal to 25%, grants bonus to unit's stats equal to the number of allies within 3 rows or 3 columns centered on unit ×3 +5, max 14. Neutralizes effects that guarantee foes follow-up attacks and effects that prevent units' follow-up attacks. Deals damage equal to 20% of unit speed during combat, and also when unit deals damage to foe during combat, restores X HP to unit, where X equals the number of spaces from start position to end position of whoever initiated combat ×3, max 12. Triggers even if 0 damage is dealt. Okay. So she is going to be a cavalry unit, and she is going to get 1 extra tile of movement space, which is always scary in general. And the condition for that is just having at least 25% HP. So that's very easy to meet. And then she gets a stat boost, and more stat boosts after that, centered around the number of allies within the 3 rows and 3 columns, which again is a huge part of the map. So it's going to be pretty easy for her to get a decent number of buffs from that second part of the weapon. The whole neutralizing of effects that would prevent her follow-up attacks, really, really strong. Dealing damage equal to 20% of unit speed. That fixed damage is going to be very powerful. Interestingly enough, no damage reduction built into this weapon, but I'm sure it is in other parts of her kit. I have no doubt about that, but that is like the one missing element, I guess. Or one of the missing elements, I should say, to the weapon in general. But it's chock full of other goodness here. Very, very strong. Of course, she has no quarter as the special. Once again, one of the best, arguably the best melee special in the game currently, especially if you do not have any damage reduction piercing or damage reduction nullification baked into the kit. Attack speed XL for the A slot. If unit or foe initiates combat after moving to a different space, grants attack speed +6 and attack speed +X to unit during combat, where X equals the number of spaces from start position to end position of whoever initiated combat, max 4. And also, if unit initiates combat, reduces damage from foes' attacks by X +3 during combat, excluding AoE specials. If foe's attack triggers special, reduces damage dealt to unit by X ×3 during combat, excluding AoE specials. Okay, so that's interesting. So it's kind of an expansion of the clash skills, right? So it kind of does away with one of the main issues that I kind of had with the clash skills, which was it was all centered around movement tiles. Like, all of the boosts were centered around movement tiles. And this actually has a more generous and flexible condition. So as long as you're moving to a different tile in general, you're getting at least some base effects, and then you get an additional effect based around the actual movement, in addition to some fixed damage reduction, and not percentage-based, an actual fixed amount of damage reduction. So it appears here, and again, she can move up to 4 spaces, right? So if that's the case, then it's that effect, it's that X, so whatever the maximum movement, or whatever the movement is, times 3. So in the case of maximum movement, it would be 4, so 4 times 3, which would be 12. So 12 hit points of damage reduction, fixed, when she initiates combat against the enemy attacks. And then if the enemy triggers their special, you get an additional fixed damage reduction of 12, potentially. So that would be 24 total points, which is, which is pretty significant. Especially, it works especially well when paired with percentile damage reduction too. So I am wondering if other parts of her kit have the percentage damage reduction and attack speed excel gives the fixed damage reduction. But yeah, I mean, it's a versatile A slot skill. I could definitely see it getting used. I'm curious if it's going to be locked against, I don't know, cavalry units or what have you, or locked for cavalry units, what have you. But I could definitely see it being very strong, especially paired with other skills out there, like Potent Force. So Potent Force for the B slot skill, inflicts speed defense -4 on foe during combat and reduces damage from attacks during combat and from AoE specials, excluding Rocker, by 30%. So, like I said, the pairing of fixed damage reduction and percentage damage reduction together is a really, really powerful defensive effect. They just work very well, and there's going to be a lot of potential dings, against Sharena and Veronica here. If decreasing the speed difference necessary to make a follow-up attack by 25 would allow unit to trigger a follow-up attack, triggers potent follow X% during combat. If unit cannot perform follow-up and attack twice, X equals 80, otherwise X equals 40. Alright, and Forever Yours as the C slot skill enables Kanto distance +1 max 4. Okay, if unit initiates combat or is within 3 spaces of an ally, grants +4 to all stats during combat, reduces damage from attacks during combat by 40%, so more damage reduction, okay, and neutralizes effects that grant special cooldown charge plus X to foe and inflict special cooldown charge minus X on unit during combat, so neutralizing the guard effect on her, as well as the blade effect on the enemy. After unit acts, if an ally within 3 spaces of unit enters into combat, grants another action to unit after ally's combat, and if Kanto has already been triggered, re-enables Kanto once per turn. If another effect... Okay, so that means she gets... Alright, so upon the refresh, she actually gets another Kanto. Alright. Yeah, so Kanto distance +1, max 4. So out of the gate, she gets an additional +1 to whatever the Kanto was, right? So she had Kanto remainder +1, so this gives another +1 to that. So at a base level, even if she uses all of her spaces, she gets +2 Kanto, which is quite nice. In addition, she gets a refresh of Kanto upon her own refresh, meaning that condition of her ally entering combat within 3 spaces of her. So that's interesting. That has some interesting implications and interesting strategies of how you're going to be, how that's going to affect unit order, I guess, in terms of attacking and things like that. Because what that effectively means that turns her allies into a dancer. It gives her a refresh or them a refresh effect if an ally attacks, engages in combat. It's not exactly the same, of course, because they have to engage in combat. They may not want to engage in combat for whatever reason, or may not have the opportunity to engage in combat. So it's not, it's not as flexible as a dance, but, you can kind of think about it that way. You get the stat boosts, as well as the additional damage reduction, and then the whole guard and non-guard, or neutralization of guard on her is very strong as well. That damage reduction, again, is going to work very well with Potent 4. That's going to synergize very well with Excel. And yeah, that's going to make them exceedingly tanky, even though they're a very offensive-oriented character in general. Yeah, I am curious to see what direction they're going to go with the actual duo skill. So move up to 4 spaces, takes 3 actions per turn, and can Kanto up to 4 times. Yeah, that is something. That is something of an absurdity. And you can see Alphonse attacking into Elise here because he entered combat. She gets a refresh at this point, and then yeah, and then she is going to attack into hell. All that damage reduction. Even though, obviously color advantage, what is color advantage? Getting healed from her weapon too, getting the Kanto as well baked in, and then there is the duo skill. So it grants another action to unit, and if Kanto has already been triggered, re-enables Kanto. So again, she gets another Kanto after the duo skill too. So yeah, so she gets up to 3 refreshes and 2 re-enabling of Kantos per turn. Yeah, I mean, that's really strong, that's really versatile, and that's going to be really annoying to deal with, but really powerful, really enabling for a player in the player's hands, I'm sure. But yeah, that's a lot of movement. There's a lot of movement for one unit. Yeah, and a lot of movement to safety with the Kanto and everything. So, Paralox Story Brides to be. Interesting collection here of bridal units with Alchrist in tow too. So again, starting on the 20th and going for an entire month, it's a strong set of units. I gotta say, the duo definitely shines in terms of overall versatility and uniqueness, because there's no other character out there currently that really does exactly what they do with that level of refresh impunity and Kanto impunity. I gotta say that I was surprised by Lapis. I think Lapis has a lot of unique things going for her too. And Embla, I like the kind of fusion of being an offensive-oriented character in addition to the support elements that she has as well. So, I mean, obviously the duo shines here. Blue's going to be very strong. I think Embla and Lapis are kind of even keeled, and I think if anything, Lapis might win out on the skill fodder front just because of the ridiculousness of her B slot skill. I think both of them are going to be quite effective in what they do. Maybe Lapis is a little bit more unique. At the same time, Lapis just has so much going for her. Again, she's a cavalry sword unit, so a little bit less unique archetype, but all the same, I think what she does and the versatility of the unit has a lot of plenty of unique elements built in. And then Nell has some great art, but otherwise she's just kind of okay. I mean, I think her skills are stepping stone skills for the most part. They're decent for dragon inheritance. Her weapon is, again, I think it's decent, but again, you're kind of looking for more than decent when it comes to inheritable weapons these days. So that's going to be a little bit more of a tough sell, but I think she looks great. I mean, that's for sure. So again, that being said, taking a look at the banner as a whole, is it like a must summon? I mean, I don't think so. I think the duo is going to be a lot of fun to use. I mean, they're going to be like refreshing and contoing all over the place multiple times per turn. It's going to be kind of ridiculous, and that kind of versatility is always fun. Now, for me personally, I'm probably going to stick to saving orbs. Like, I like the character selection. I like the character designs, too. I think they look nice. But none of them are, like, screaming, like, must summon to me from a design perspective or a selection perspective. So I think I can hold out, and I'm probably going to. But let me know. Let me know in the comments below if you're excited for the bridal banner and the groom banner. Well, it really is just a bridal banner. The only groom is free. But let me know if you're excited about the character selection, about the skills, about the archetypes, and everything else. If you guessed the characters correctly. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to leave us a like, comment, subscribe to the channel for more Fire Emblem Heroes content. We thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, let's protect those skies.